Здравствуйте, друзья! Hello, friends! Welcome to our lesson. If you've been learning Russian, you know that single words and phrases can only get you so far. To truly communicate, you need to build full sentences. And real conversation isn't just about stating facts, it's about asking questions to learn more and expressing what isn't true or what you don't have. So that's exactly what we are mastering today. In this video, we are moving to the next level. We'll take the building blocks you know and learn essential skills to bring them to life. Now let's get crystal clear on what we'll achieve today. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to do 4 concrete things. First, construct a complete sentence using a subject, verb, and direct object in the accusative case. Second, negate any such sentence by correctly placing не before the verb. Third, form a question using either intonation or question words like что, кого, как, где. Last, combine these skills in a short, realistic dialogue. So far, you can say things like «Я читаю», «I'm reading», or «Он говорит», «He is speaking». But it feels incomplete, right? What are you reading? Who is he speaking to? To answer these questions, you need to learn about падежи, Russian cases. Don't panic. Today, we are learning just one case, the most useful one, and it will unlock 80% of the sentences you want to make. You ready for this? In English, word order tells you cat sees the dog. Change the order, dog sees the cat. And the meaning flips. In Russian, word endings do this job. The noun's ending changes based on its role in the sentence. These changes called a case. For example, Кот видит собаку translates as cat sees the dog. If we change the order of words, we get собаку видит кот, but the meaning stays the same. So the ending у on собаку tells us it's the object, no matter where it is in the sentence. So today's star is this accusative case, винительный падеж. It answers the questions кого, что, whom, what. Use of the accusative case. So first, direct object of a verb answers to the questions to see what, to love whom, without any prepositions. Direction, location, or circumstances. Questions where to, when, how. We use various prepositions in this case. Reason. Question for what? We use preposition за to answer this question. Subject of a discussion. Questions about whom, about what. We use preposition про to answer these questions. And period of time. In an hour, after 2 weeks. We use prepositions через or спустя to answer these questions. The accusative case is the only case that makes a difference between animate and inanimate objects. So the rules of forming the accusative case are different for the objects that are alive, like people, animals, and not alive, things, natural phenomena, and etc. So for example, for masculine gender, inanimate objects, журнал, стол, computer. They don't change their endings in accusative case. But animate objects like student, врач, кот, we should add are or я to make these nouns in accusative case. For feminine gender, in all objects, both inanimate and animate, we change а to у, я to you, and soft sign stays the same. So for example, книга, книгу, Россия, Россию, тетрадь, тетрадь. Neuter gender. For all nouns, animate and inanimate. The endings don't change. So, for example, окно, окно, море, море, здание, здание. So let's look at examples for masculine nouns. For example, if you want to say, I'm reading a magazine. Я, to read, читать, magazine, журнал. Я читаю журнал. This is inanimate, so that's why the ending does not change. Я читаю журнал. You are feeding a cat. You, ты, to feed, кормить, cat, кот. In this case, кот is animate object, that's why we add a to the end of this word. So, ты кормишь кота. Remember, Russian does not have the same distinction between present simple and present continuous tenses that English has. Instead, Russian has one present tense that covers both meanings. Context, adverbs, or the verb's inherent meaning tell you whether it's a habitual or an ongoing action. So, for example, Я читаю журнал can be translated as I read a magazine or I am reading a magazine. We can consider, is it present continuous or present simple based on the context of a given sentence. So, for example, Я читаю журнал каждый день. Here we have каждый день, which translates as every day, and this means general action. Я читаю журнал каждый день. I read a magazine every day. Present simple. Смотри, я читаю интересный журнал. Here we have смотри, which translates as look. So it makes sense that sentence here is present continuous. Смотри, я читаю интересный журнал. Look, I'm reading an interesting magazine. Let's look to feminine nouns. So, I see a moon. Я, to see, видеть, moon, луна. Я вижу луну. In feminine gender, ending a changes to u. Я вижу луну. In accusative case. I love my mom. Я, to love, любить, my, моя, mama. Feminine gender, that's why we used here моя, mom, mama. Я люблю мою маму. The same here. Ending a change it to u in accusative case. Let's make more beautiful sentences. I love my dear mom. Я люблю мою дорогую маму. I see a big moon. Я вижу огромную луну. Okay, now neuter nouns. So he is going to the sea. He, он, to go, идти, sea, море. Я иду на море. In neuter nouns, the endings don't change in accusative case, but here we use preposition на, which means to or onto. Next, they are building a building. They, они, to build, строить, a building, здание. Они строят здание. As we see, the endings don't change in accusative case for neuter nouns. Here we have more useful prepositions that we can use in accusative cases. So, в or во translates as into or to, на, onto, to, за, for, behind, про, about, через, across or through or in time period. Great. When we say things like, I see my friend, do you know his sister, or we love our country, we need to use possessive pronouns in the accusative case. Now we'll learn exactly how to do this correctly in Russian. There are two types of possessive pronouns, Remember, one of them change their endings based on the cases, the others don't change. So, его, ее, их. These three pronouns never change their form in any case. So, we have here possessive pronouns in nominative case. Мой, твой, наш, ваш, его, ее, их. The others are accusative in accusative cases. Our possessive pronouns will change their endings based on animate object or inanimate object. So, first, animate objects. Masculine gender. Друг, friend, animate object. That's why we should say моего друга in accusative case or твоего друга, нашего друга, вашего друга, его, ее, их друга. These three pronouns never change. In feminine gender, сестра, мою сестру, твою сестру, нашу сестру, вашу сестру, его, ее, их сестру. In Russian, there isn't any animate object in neuter gender. That's why we don't have here neuter gender. So in plural nouns, моих друзей, друзья, friends in plural, моих друзей, твоих друзей, наших друзей, ваших друзей, его друзей, ее друзей, их друзей. As you can see, these three pronouns never change. So for inanimate objects, стол, table. In masculine gender, мой стол, твой стол, наш стол, ваш стол, его стол, ее стол, их стол. As you can see, in this case, all pronouns stay the same as in nominative case. Next, feminine gender. Книга, book. Мою книгу, твою книгу, нашу книгу, вашу книгу, его книгу, ее книгу, их книгу. Neuter gender. Окно. Мое окно, твое окно, наше окно, ваше окно, его окно, ее окно, их окно. In plural nouns, мои столы, твои столы, наши столы, ваши столы, его столы, ее столы, их столы. So, remember, these three pronouns never change. Other pronouns will change based on animate object or inanimate object. So, for example, я вижу моего папу. We say here моего, not мой, because papa is animate object. Dad, I see my dad. Я вижу мой дом. We say here мой, not моего, because дом is inanimate object. Ты знаешь его брата. In this case, it doesn't matter animate or inanimate object because его never change. The same is here. Now let's learn to say no in Russian. The simplest way to make negation is to put не before the verb. Не always comes before the verb. Remember, subject plus не plus verb. So, for example, я говорю, I speak. Я не говорю, I don't speak. Мы понимаем. We understand. Мы не понимаем. We don't understand. Он работает. He works. Он не работает. He doesn't work. Они учатся. They study. Они не учатся. They don't study. Now let's talk about question sentences. The ability to ask questions is the key to communication. We'll learn how to turn any statement into a question and learn special question words. So in Russian, to make question sentences, the easiest way is to change our intonation. In writing, we just put a question mark And in speech, we should raise our voice at the end of the sentence. So try to repeat after me with correct intonation. Ты говоришь по-английски. You speak English. Ты говоришь по-английски? Do you speak English? Он работает здесь. He works here. Он работает здесь. Does he work here? Они студенты. They are students. Они студенты? Are they students? Do you notice the difference? Now let's learn special question words. They always come at the beginning of the question. So, for example, кто, who, что, what, где, where, куда, where to, откуда, where from, когда, when, почему, why, зачем, what for, как, how, сколько, how much or how many. Notice где, куда, откуда. These are three different questions about place. So let's have some examples here. Who is this? Кто это? What is this? Что это? Where do you live? Где ты живешь? Where are you going? Куда ты идешь? Where are you from? Откуда ты? When did you arrive? Когда ты приехал? Why are you here? Почему ты здесь? What do you need this for? Зачем тебе это? How are you? Как дела? How much does it cost? Сколько это стоит? Good job, friends. Now let's learn how to ask whose is this? So we use here the question word чей. This word will change based on the number and based on the gender of the noun. So for masculine gender, masculine singular noun, we use чей. For feminine, we use чья. For neuter, we use чье. And for plural nouns, we use чьи. So for example, чей это дом? Дом. Noun in masculine gender, that's why we use here чей. Чей это дом? Whose house is this? Сумка. Ends in a, feminine gender, that's why we use чья. Чья это сумка? Whose bag is this? Окно. О ends in о, neuter gender. That's why чье это окно? Whose window is this? Ключи. Keys. Plural noun. That's why чьи. Чьи это ключи? Whose keys are this? Good job, friends. Now, practice time. Pause the video and try to do these exercises. In the next slide, we'll have key answers. More exercises here. Pause the video and try them. In the next slide, we'll have key answers. Great job today, guys. Keep practicing. You've got this. See you next time.